There is a silence before the storm of the soul, a trembling you cannot name, a shadow moving just beyond the edges of your certainty. When everything appears ordinary, when your life feels trapped in invisible patterns, that is when the ground beneath you begins to fracture. Not loudly, not clearly, but irreversibly. They taught you to trust stability, to seek comfort in repetition. Yet what they never told you is that true life, your real life, demands a death first, the death of the familiar, the death of who you thought you needed to be. Every ending you resist is a secret beginning disguised, and the longer you cling, the harsher the call becomes. There are signs, ancient, subtle, encoded in the architecture of your psyche, that announce the tearing of the old fabric. But these signs are not given freely. They appear as contradictions, as tensions, as aching questions that refuse easy answers. Most will dismiss them as mere discomfort. Only a few will recognize them as the threshold. You are closer than you think, closer to the fracture that reveals the hidden landscape, closer to the collapse that births clarity. But beware, if you ignore these signs, if you look away now, you may lose forever the door that only opens once, a door that does not wait for your readiness. Today, we will not hand you easy truths. We will uncover the buried signals you have long ignored, and each one will be a mirror, a riddle, a burning invitation to the life that has always been waiting for you behind the crumbling walls of what you believed was safety. There is a peculiar quietness that precedes the storm of a soul on the verge of awakening, a strange dissonance between the outer world and the invisible trembling within. You feel it, though you cannot name it. A tension that tightens the air around you, a disquiet that flickers at the corner of your familiar days. Nothing seems wrong, yet nothing feels whole. It is not fear you taste, nor sorrow, but something more elusive, the scent of a life unlived, pressing itself against the thin walls of the self you have constructed. You stand at the threshold without even realizing it, and every heartbeat becomes a drumbeat summoning you toward an unknown destiny that your conscious mind fights to deny. They taught you that happiness is the absence of discomfort, that safety is the supreme good, that certainty is the prize you must chase. But deep within the labyrinth of your unconscious, another law reigns, the law of becoming. Here, stagnation is death. Here, the comfort you cling to is the very chain that strangles your becoming. There is a part of you, older than your memories, wiser than your fears, that knows when a cycle must end. It sends signals, dreams that disturb you, relationships that unravel, ambitions that lose their flavor, an inexplicable hunger for something you cannot yet define. These are not mistakes, they are invitations, but most refuse to listen. Most tighten their grip on the known, mistaking the crumbling for failure, mistaking the void for punishment. They do not understand what feels like collapse is in truth the hidden architecture of rebirth. Memory conspires in this secret dance. Echoes of past failures, old wounds, ancient betrayals rise to the surface as if to mock you, but they are not here to defeat you. They are guardians of the passage. Every unhealed sorrow, every moment you abandoned yourself, every time you chose fear over truth, they return now, not as curses, but as keys. You must face them. You must remember them, not to drown in pain, but to reforge your identity with eyes unclouded by illusions. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the raw material of metamorphosis. If you numb it, if you run from it, you forfeit the very fire that would have forged your wings. There will be nights when you feel hollowed out, when the silence inside you becomes unbearable, when it seems that no light will ever find its way through the ruins. Good, it means the old structures are burning. It means the false gods you worshipped, approval, security, predictability, are crumbling to dust. In those nights, something else begins to stir. A voice so soft it is almost lost amid the noise of your mind. It is the voice of your deeper self, the self you betrayed in exchange for belonging, the self you buried to survive. It does not speak in demands or commands. It whispers in questions. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you desire when you are no longer afraid to lose? What burns in you that no external prize can extinguish? These questions are not traps, they are doorways. But they are doorways you can only pass through naked, stripped of your pretenses, your roles, your desperate masks of competence. If you listen, truly listen, you will notice the signs multiplying. A restlessness with what once satisfied you, an intolerance for smallness, for pretense, for hollow victories, a gravitational pull toward authenticity so strong that resisting it begins to cost you your health, your peace, your very sense of aliveness. You will find yourself weeping for reasons you cannot explain, laughing at the absurdity of things you once took seriously, mourning the loss of a version of yourself that, though familiar, has long ceased to serve your truth. This is not regression. This is not madness. This is the dismantling required before resurrection. There is no other way. Life will not negotiate with your attachments. It will strip you of what you are not until only what you truly are remains. You are not being punished. You are being initiated. But initiation is not a ceremony. It is a slow, painful, magnificent undoing. It is the cracking open of every structure built on fear rather than truth. You do not have to understand it. You do not have to like it. You only have to endure it with the faith that what is dying was never really alive, and what is being born, though it terrifies you now, is the only thing that can finally set you free. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the soul, exhausted by its own betrayals, ceases to argue with destiny. You do not notice it at first. It does not announce itself with lightning or fire. It is a gentle hollowing, a sacred erosion, a surrender born not of defeat but of a fierce, wordless knowing. You can no longer pretend. You can no longer carry the corpse of your old self across the threshold of a new life. What must die will die, and no pleading, no bargaining, no desperate attempt to stitch the old fabric together will save it. In this sacred exhaustion, a strange clarity dawns. You realize that losing everything you thought you needed is not the tragedy. It is the portal. It is the invitation you spent your entire life unconsciously refusing. Your mind will rebel. It will summon every ghost, every fear, every seductive narrative of scarcity and regret. It will tell you that you are making a mistake, that you are throwing away too much, that you are nothing without the scaffolding you once clung to. And yet, deeper still, a quieter wisdom hums beneath the panic. A current so ancient it predates all your conditioning. It tells you, you are not losing yourself, you are losing who you were never meant to be. And in this losing, in this sacred unraveling, you are finally making space for the life that has always been waiting, coiled in the hidden gardens of your being. You will not emerge unscathed. There is no rebirth without rupture, no emergence without agony. You will grieve the loss of dreams you once believed were yours. You will weep for versions of yourself that never received the love they begged for. You will rage against the cruelty of a world that taught you to measure your worth in victories, possessions, appearances. But this rage, too, is sacred. It burns away the dross. It purifies the gold hidden beneath the masks. Let it burn. Let the fire consume the illusions. Only what is real will survive. Only what is essential will endure the flames. Along this passage, memories will rise like mist from the floor of your consciousness, not linear, not logical, but wild and aching. Moments of abandonment you thought you had forgotten. Childhood. Dreams buried beneath adult compromises. Silences that once screamed louder than any word. You will be tempted to dismiss them as noise, as distractions. Do not. They are maps. They are the broken constellations that, if you dare to follow, will lead you back to yourself. Every forgotten dream, every discarded passion, every small death you endured silently. They return now not to haunt you but to guide you. They are your soul's hidden cartography. And only by honoring them can you reclaim the parts of yourself you once sacrificed for survival. It will hurt. It is meant to. You are not merely changing your circumstances. You are rewriting the very script of your existence. You are refusing to play roles that once earned you applause but cost you your soul. You are dismantling the foundations upon which your false self was erected. And as the walls collapse, as the familiar landscapes of your identity crumble into dust, you will find yourself standing naked in the center of your own becoming. No guidebook, no guarantees. Only the faint, stubborn pulse of a life insisting on being lived. In this nakedness, in this terrifying liberation, you will confront the first true freedom you have ever tasted, and it will terrify you. Because freedom, real freedom, demands the death of every excuse you have ever clung to. It demands the abandonment of blame, the renunciation of victimhood, the surrender of control. You will have no one to hide behind, no narrative to shield you, no mask to wear, only yourself, raw, trembling, magnificent. And it is in this place, this trembling center, that the next chapter of your life will be conceived, not through effort, not through striving, but through the fierce, tender willingness to let yourself be undone and remade by forces larger than your mind can comprehend. There will be moments when you will want to turn back, when the ruins of your old life will seem safer than the vast, unknown field stretching before you, when the ache of rebirth will feel too heavy to bear. But know this, you are not alone. You are walking a path carved by countless souls before you, those who dared to lose the world to find their own souls. Their footsteps echo behind you, their courage pulses in your blood. You have been prepared for this crossing in ways you cannot yet understand. Every loss, every betrayal, every heartbreak was a blade sharpening your spirit for this passage. Trust the unraveling. Trust the silence. Trust the grief, the rage, the trembling. They are not signs of your failure. They are the contractions of a new life struggling to be born through you. And though you cannot yet see it, though the future remains shrouded in mist, know this. The best chapter of your life does not await you somewhere out there. It waits for you within the ruins of all you were brave enough to let go. Somewhere along the breaking, something extraordinary begins to awaken. Not in grand revelations, not in sudden victories, but in the subtle shifts of your perception. The same streets look different. The same conversations no longer hold you captive. The very air seems charged with an unseen electricity, as if the invisible world you once dismissed is now whispering secrets in a language your heart has finally learned to hear. You realize that the rupture you feared was never the end. It was the beginning of sight, the tearing away of veils you mistook for reality. And in this nascent seeing, in this fragile but inexorable clarity, the first seeds of your new life are sown. You will walk through the remains of your old existence and marvel, not with bitterness, not with regret, but with a strange, aching tenderness. You will recognize the masks you wore, the prisons you built, the bargains you made with fear. You will not condemn yourself. You will not wallow in shame. You will understand, with a depth that words cannot touch, that every falsehood you lived was an act of survival, a necessary scaffolding for a self not yet ready to bloom. Compassion will flow where once judgment reigned. And it is this compassion, fierce, unflinching, boundless, that will become the soil in which your new soul will take root. There will still be fear. Evolution does not silence fear. It transfigures it. You will feel it rise in your chest as you step into the unknown, as you speak truths that tremble on your lips, as you choose authenticity over approval, soul over comfort. But you will no longer obey it. Fear will cease to be your master and become your compass, pointing to the places where your next becoming demands courage. Each step into the unknown will feel like stepping off a cliff, and yet somehow invisible bridges will form beneath your feet. Not because you demanded certainty, but because you trusted the deeper intelligence that carries all things toward their becoming. The world around you will resist. Old relationships will tremble under the weight of your transformation. Systems that once praised you will now question you, mock you, punish you for refusing to play the role they assigned. Do not mistake this resistance for failure. It is the echo of your liberation reverberating against the walls of a collective unconscious still shackled to fear. The brighter your flame, the more fiercely the shadows will cling. But this, too, is a sign, You are no longer bound by the invisible contracts that once dictated your existence. You are no longer willing to trade your soul for a seat at tables built on lies. You are becoming dangerous. Dangerous to illusions. Dangerous to mediocrity. Dangerous to everything that cannot withstand the weight of your awakened being. And through it all, through the ache, the exile, the trembling victories, you will begin to glimpse something extraordinary rising from the ruins. A life that does not need to be chased. A love that does not need to be earned. A worthiness that does not need to be proven. You will feel the architecture of your soul rebuilding itself, not according to the blueprints of fear, but according to the silent, majestic symmetry of your original design. The self you were always meant to become. The one whispered to. You in childhood dreams, glimpsed in fleeting moments of awe and wonder, will no longer be a distant possibility. It will be your reality, breathing through you, moving through you, becoming you. There is no map for this territory. There are no guarantees, no linear milestones, no promises of safety. There is only the knowing, deeper than thought, older than time, that what is real will recognize you, and you will recognize it by the way it makes your soul ache with the beauty of its truth. You will walk forward not because you have conquered fear, but because you have befriended it. You will create not from ambition or lack, but from the overflow of a heart finally aligned with its own sacred rhythm. You will love, not to possess, not to fill a void, but to celebrate the divine spark you now see shining in every soul you encounter. And when the storms come, as they surely will, you will not beg for shelter. You will not curse the winds. You will stand naked beneath the thundering heavens, arms outstretched, heart wide open, and you will whisper, I am ready. Ready not for perfection, not for a life free of pain, but for a life saturated with meaning, with depth, with the fierce joy that comes from knowing you are no longer hiding, no longer shrinking, no longer betraying the truth of who you are. This is the threshold. This is the crossing. And though you do not yet know it fully, every tear, every tremor, every surrender was not the end of you. It was the anointing for a life more vast, more luminous, more real than anything you have ever dared to imagine. Somewhere deep within you, something ancient has already stirred, a knowing too vast for language, too intimate for definition. You feel it, not as a thought, not even as an emotion, but as a subtle realignment of your very being. As if the soil of your soul, long parched and cracked, has tasted the first drops of a rain it had forgotten how to pray for. You do not yet see the full landscape. You do not yet hold the map. But the direction has shifted. The winds no longer drag you in circles. They now call you forward into the unfolding terrain of who you are meant to become. The illusions have cracked, quietly, almost tenderly. The masks you once wore out of necessity now feel too heavy, too hollow, too brittle to carry. The wounds you believed defined you have revealed their true purpose, not as scars of shame, but as sacred inscriptions of survival. You are beginning to see that every loss was a clearing, every ache a carving, every silence a deeper tuning of your soul's ear to the frequencies of truth. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was meaningless. The chaos was the midwife of your becoming, and though the labor was long, though the night seemed endless, dawn has begun to seep through the cracks. There are no trumpets to announce your arrival, no banners waving in triumph. Only the simple, solemn beauty of an awakened breath, the first of many you will take not in survival, but in sovereignty. You walk differently now, even if the world does not yet see it. You carry within you a gravity, a silence, a deep river flowing beneath every word you speak, every choice you make. And though the temptations to shrink, to doubt, to betray yourself once more will still come, you will recognize them not as truths, but as echoes of a life you no longer owe your allegiance to. You have crossed an invisible line. You have stepped from the land of waiting into the living architecture of your own destiny. And though the storms will still rise, though loneliness may still visit your door, you will know, with a certainty born not of logic, but of lived truth, that you are never truly lost. The thread of your becoming, once frayed and tangled, now gleams with a fierce, indestructible light. You do not need to know the entire path. You only need to trust the next step, and the next, and the next, until the path itself emerges beneath your feet like a living thing, woven from your courage, your sorrow, your invincible longing to be whole. And so I leave you now, not with answers, but with a question that will bloom inside you like a secret fire. When the soul calls, will you answer with your whole life, or will you wait for another storm to remind you of what you already know? If these words have found a home inside you, if the silent spaces between them have echoed truths you had forgotten, then you already know that this journey cannot be traveled alone. It is not a journey of spectators, but of souls willing to bleed, to rise, to remember. I invite you, not out of obligation, but out of shared destiny, to walk this unfolding path with us, to become part of a gathering of minds and hearts committed to the fierce art of becoming. Join the silent revolution of the awakened. Breathe life into this fire, like this video if it mirrored something true within you. Share it if you feel the tremor of a deeper calling stirring beneath your ribs. Comment below not to be heard, but to speak the language of becoming into existence. And most of all, subscribe to Archimind, not as a follower but as a co-creator of a new consciousness that refuses to sleepwalk through life any longer. This is not the end. It is the breath before the leap. It is the whisper before the roar. It is the moment before the soul takes flight, finally, irreversibly, forever.